Hey everyone out there, my name is Devin Adams. I'm a FortiGate instructor for Dynamic Worldwide here in Tempe, Arizona. And yeah, this is the third video in our advanced high availability demo here. So in the last video, we configured and enabled the VDOMs on the FortiGates. All right, so each one of these customers seems like they have their own FortiGate, but they really have their own virtual domain or VDOM. Okay, and the next step that we need to do is to bring in the HA element, the high availability element. So instead of rambling on, I'm just going to have at it. So now I pardon all of the steps, but like I said, one of the pet peeves I have about YouTube is YouTube magic, where things just magically work. So I want to show you guys everything. Thank goodness you can skip ahead and all that jazz. So it's kind of like those cooking shows, right? Where a pot roast comes out of nowhere. Anyways, so let's bring in the second FortiGate. Okay, so here we are in GNS3. And once again, you can't use the free VMs, unfortunately. So I'm going to have to license this bad boy before we use it. So, and I'm just going to use one of my licenses I normally use in my class environment. So there we go. And I'm just going to relabel this as FortiGate B. There we go. Okay, now here's the thing about high availability. We really do not need to configure this thing much. All we need to do is do little stuff like maybe the NTP, maybe the host name, right? After that, we know with confidence that everything on the FortiGate A, our current configuration that's up and running, okay, will pass through to FortiGate B. So you don't have to worry about the minutia there, okay? But I do have to drop a license, so I'm just going to temporarily plug into this domain here. All right. Now I'm going to go ahead and start matching up the port numbers. So this plugs into port 5 because this FortiGate is plugged into port 5 over here. All right. And that's the thing, guys. All the ports on your identical FortiGate needs to be plugged into the same broadcast domains. Now this could be done by VLANs and like maybe just a core switch. Just throwing it out there, but we at least need enough to get this thing going. All right, so while that is booting up, I'm going to give it an IP address temporarily of 10.10.1.1, so I can get the license to it. But let's go ahead and talk about that real quickly. So let's just work on our physical layer topology here. So yep, we have port 5, and then port 6 is going to have to plug into here. And then port 7 is going to plug into here. And then port 8 is going to plug into here. All right, so it's literally a mirror of what's happening on FortiGate A, and that kind of makes sense. If it's a virtual MAC address that gets passed along when there's a failover, all right, it needs to be able to send a new ARP request, known as a gratuitous ARP, into these switches to say, hey, you know what, that MAC address now lives on a different port number, physical port number, all right, a switching port. Okay, let's see where this thing is post-wise. All right, it looks like it's formatting something. Good times. Okay, let's go ahead and do the other upside here, the WAN. So we'll say port 1 to here, port 2 to here, port 3 to customer B, and port 4 to customer C. Oh, look at that beautiful spider web. All right. I'm a little bit tempted to get like a 40 spider. Anyways, okay. That was dumb. All right. Let's see if it's booted up yet. And then once it boots up, we're just going to go ahead and stick an IP address on it so we can get to it real quickly. In the meantime, let's go ahead and make these settings a little bit bigger so you can see what I'm doing here. All right. There we go. And I'm pretty sure it's probably still posting. So in the meantime, while that thing's still loading, let's go into our root PC. And we can at least get into this FortiGate because we're going to have to start setting up the HA settings. All right, there we go. So this is the FortiGate A, and FortiGate B, like I said, is rebooting, doing its thing. It's a fresh deployment. All right, all that good stuff. So here, though, we're going to go to our network. We're going to go to our interfaces. No, we're not. We're going to go to system. We're going to go to HA. Sorry about that, guys. All right, and as you can see here, we have a high availability standalone mode, but we don't want that to be in standalone mode. We want it to be an active passive. All right, now what active passive means is that one FortiGate is going to be actively processing traffic and the other one's going to be waiting around for something bad to happen. All right, now in active, everything still goes to the FortiGate A, and then qualifying traffic can be processed with FortiGate B. You don't increase throughput traditionally, but you do increase resources, meaning memory and all that good stuff, CPU allocations, if you have it in active. Now, what we're trying to accomplish here is to get half of our VDOMs on one FortiGate and the other half on the other FortiGate acting as primary. So it only makes sense that these two are an active passive, because really, guys, if you think about it, what would be the point of pushing traffic to this one and then redirecting it to the other FortiGate? That just doesn't make any sense. So hold that thought, because I need to come over here to my FortiGate B and give it an IP address. Are you guys ready? So we're going to do a config system interface, and then we're going to edit port 5, and then we're going to set the IP address to something that's on that local subnet so we can get to the GUI. All right, and then the allow access, HTTP, HTTPS, SSH, telnet. Nah, we don't need telnet. Ping, there we go. All right, and now we can come over here and just real quickly drop that license. And when I drop the license, it has to reboot it and all that stuff. So what am I doing? Admin 10, 10, 1, 1. All right, there's our brand new FortiGates. I'm not even going to bother doing a password because it's all going to get synced up to the primary anyways. Okay. And then up here is how you can go ahead and drop a license. So actually, you know what? I could probably do it right here, shortcut wise. Here we go. Bloop. And by the way, I'm only doing this, like I said, because it turns out that VDOMs are no longer a part of the free VMs. All right. So kind of a disappointment there. So I got to use a license file from one of my classes. All right. There we go. So that's going to go ahead and reboot. Okay, back to our story. I'm trying to multitask here. All right. So that's why we're going to leave it active passive. Okay. So because it would be a little bit silly to do active. Now the device priority, this is only relevant if you have override mode enabled. Now, normally, whatever has the highest uptime will be the primary. Okay. But here, if we go ahead and set this to like 200, it will guarantee that our device will be the primary once we enable override mode. And you probably want to do this for the first time that you're syncing up the devices. And the reason why is because the last thing you want is, for some reason, FortiGate B deciding to be the primary, and now you wipe your configuration when the two sync up together. All right, so all right, now the cluster settings. So the group name is just going to be HA, and the password is just going to be, I don't know, I'll choose something really fancy here. Don't judge me. It's a test environment. All right, here we go. And we don't have any monitored interfaces. All right, monitored interfaces are interfaces that if they go down, it will do a fail over. Right now, though, we do need to pick the heartbeat, and that's going to be our last two ports here, which is 9 and 10. All right. So, and then I'm actually going to leave off VM partitioning until I get the HA cluster up and running. I just want to make sure that everything is good. All right. So I'm going to hit OK. All right. So there we go. But now I'm going to pop into here and I'm going to turn on that what you call it. I'm going to turn on that override mode to enable, just to make sure that FortiGate A stays the master while we're doing our first initial synchronization. So I'm going to do a let's see here, config sys HA. All right, and if I do a show, there it is. That's what we just did. And you guys see where it says override disabled? Yeah, we're going to have to do a set override to enable. Oops. There we go. So like I said, that will guarantee that the configuration here will be the one that stays connected. All right, so let's see what this FortiGate's doing. Did it ever come back to life? I don't have a clue. Oh, yeah, it's up. All right, good times. So here we go. All right, we got a redirect, self-sign cert. That's what we're waiting for. So we'll confirm it. So we'll do an admin. Okay. Now here's the thing. It's saying that license is being validated by FortiGuard. Guess what I forgot to do? I'm such a ding dong. Yeah, guess what I forgot to do before I dropped that config file? I forgot to give it internet access, because remember, it needs that internet access to validate licensing. Geez, guys, why didn't you guys say something? Man, I'm such a ding dong. All right, are you guys ready? Let's fix it. Okay. Oh man. Okay, here we go. Maybe the magic of YouTube isn't a bad thing. All right. Okay, here we go, guys. I'm embarrassed because I can't believe I forgot that. So okay, so how do we set internet access on this bad boy? Believe it or not, we just have to tell it what the default gateway is. So we have to do a config system, config router static. All right, and then we'll do an edit one for a new entry. And all we have to do is set gateway to the FortiGate that's actually configured. All right, and then tell it what device to leave out of, which is port 5, right? So if we do a show here, if we do a get, see how the quad 0 is already in there, right there. So it says when you don't know where to go, leave out port 5 and hand it to the FortiGate that's already configured. And then we hit an end, and then we can confirm this with a ping out to like Google services. And there it is. All right. Now, if we want to force it to update that license right away, we can do an execute, update now. I like doing it a few times. It's like pushing the elevator button a bunch of times because it makes the elevator come down faster, which is not true. But eventually that thing will get updated now. So, all right, let's check the GUI again. Sorry about that, guys. That was embarrassing. All right. So we'll hit a 5. And that might still take a while to reach out there and get a verification. Well, maybe not. Let's take a look. I forgot I never set a password on there. Okay. I'm going to hit pause, and I'm just going to wait to let it validate, and then I'll come back, guys. Okay? So, all right. I have no idea why that was taking so long. But in the meantime, I remembered I had to power it down anyway. So these FortiGates need to be identical. All right. Now the license, okay, on the virtual machines have different levels of resources depending on their VM numbers. So this is a FortiGate VM01. All right, FortiGate VM01. They actually support up to 2 gigs of memory. The free VMs only do 1. So now that a license has been dropped on here, all right, we need to come into these settings once it's powered off and increase the resources to 248 megabytes. All right, so because if they're not identical, you will have synchronization problems. All right, so and that includes if they're different VM licensing versions. So if you try to do a VM00 and a VM01, they are not going to talk. If the FortiOSs are different, they're not going to talk. All right. Other than that, that's the only 2 real ones that I have noticed with the VMs in particular. So, all right, guys, I'm going to pause it again just so you don't have to watch paint dry, and I'm going to let this bad boy boot up. So, all right. All right. Awesome. So it booted up, and as you can see, we now have a valid license, so we should be able to log on to it and start doing the HA settings. So before we do that, we're missing one part of our physical topology, and that is our heartbeats. So port 9's got to plug into port 9, and port 10 needs to plug into port 10, and these will be the actual HA management interfaces. So, all right, now we can do this. Phew, here we go. Let me just make this a little bigger for you guys. Boom. All right. So now the settings have to essentially be identical. Okay. The account is default. Yeah, we don't care about you. Get out of here. All right. So here we go. All right. So first and foremost, like I said, before we do the HA, we might as well change the host name. So we know which FortiGate we're on. Okay. So here we go. So we'll just say FortiGate B, NTP, we're in Arizona. All right. I also don't want to get kicked out every few minutes in my lab environment, so I'll do 480. All right, good times. All right, there we go. Now we're going to go over to system, we're going to go to HA, and we're going to essentially do the identical ones. So we're going to say active passive. All right. And the device priority, I'm just going to do 100, keeping it lower than the 200. Okay. The group names do have to match up. So HA, and then password is going to be my super secret password. Shh. There we go. And I can't remember if I did session pickup, but I want it. I better check that before I try it out. So now session pickup is their seamless failover. So that means part of the session table gets synced with it, including like IPsec tunnels, which is kind of cool. No monitored interfaces. And then the heartbeat links is going to be 9 and 10. All right. And then once I hit OK, it's still not going to work. All right. And the reason why is because we need to also set that override. It needs to be identical or we're going to have problems. So here we go. All right. Unless it already killed it. Did it already find it? What? Wow. That's amazing. Anyways, we still want to make sure that we have those override turned on. I guess I should have done that ahead of time. Anyways, here we go. Config system HA. We'll do a show here, and we'll do a set override to enable. All right. So, and just so you guys can see what I'm doing here, I'm going to go ahead and make those a little bigger on my parents. Okay. Now, if you have a console cable, you will see the output information on here. So as you guys can see, it found it. And it did recognize the other one as being mastered anyways, even without that override being enabled. So, and the reason why is because it had been up longer. So that's fine. But I promise you, you probably wanted to do that through the CLI just to make sure. If you want to get technical, the last time I read up on it, I believe there's a 5-minute difference that needs to happen before it will kick in for the priority numbers. So if the two have been up for less than 5 minutes, it does the priority numbers anyways. So, and this will take a little bit to synchronize. All right. So let's go ahead and take a look at something else we can do in the meantime though. All right. So I'm going to move this over to the side and let's just follow a best practice here by, all right. Oops, did I really close that out? My bad, guys. Okay, so let's log back into the primary. Now, regardless if it's FortiGate A or FortiGate B, okay, whoever is in the primary is going to be 10.10.1.254. All right, so that's just how it works. All right. If we want to have a management IP address on both of them, we're going to have to set a management IP address. And you know what? I'm actually going to want to do this just so we can ping it, just so we can, maybe administer to that FortiGate B independently from FortiGate A or vice versa. regardless of who has the primary role, all right? But as you can see here, FortiGate A's host name's up here, its roles here, looks like it's still trying to sync everything up, which is fine. Like I said, it will take a little bit to make that happen. Doesn't happen automatically, okay? But in the meantime, I'm gonna pop out this console port, all right? And I am going to set a management IP address on that port 5. So I'm gonna do a config system interface, okay? I'm gonna edit port 5, and then I'm going to set a management IP address of 10.10.1, okay? 253. So if I ever want to get to this FortiGate, specifically, regardless of its HA role, that's the IP address I'm going to do so from. All right? So now I have to do that same thing on FortiGate B. There's a problem though. The second that we cluster these two together, you pretty much lose the ability to access the secondaries, hence why we're doing this. So you can either do this by the console port, all right? Or you can do it through the HA management. So let's try it through the HA management. Are you guys ready? So we'll do an execute, HA, manage. And as you can see here, we have the secondary there. So we're going to hit 1. And it said incomplete command. All right, well, what's after that? Oh, admin. There we go. Oops. There we go. So I forget it synchronizes the admin database. So I had to actually type in a password there, but here we are. So I did an execute HA management 1, and I did a question mark after this management here, and you'll see the secondaries there. And then if you notice, it uses the APIPA addresses through the heartbeat interfaces to actually make an SSL connection over there, which is kind of cool. So anyways, but now we can do a config global, all right, because we're using VDOMs. We have to say change something on the global side of things, and then we have to do a config system interface, all right, and then we have to edit the port 5 and set management IP address to 10.10.1.252. So no matter what role it is, okay, we'll be able to get to that FortiGate B by that IP address there. All right, and then we'll do an end to commit, and now you guys will see here we can get to the FortiGates independently. There it is. So here is FortiGate B. All right, slave, say how it's done independent. Wow, I gotta update my licenses. Okay, and then if I do 10.10.1.253, you're gonna see it's gonna be FortiGate A. Okay, master. And look at that, we're all synced up. We're not getting an error message. All right, so pretty darn cool. So last thing, we better test connectivity. All right, so let's just ping something like google.com. All right, there we guys go. Okay, so we have connectivity. Now, like I said, though, everything is always going to go to the primary regardless of what's happening. So and just to kind of prove this, and this is where I'm going to wrap up the video, I'm going to take this interface right here, which is my port 5 that has that ping loop on it, and I'm going to start a capture, all right? And we're going to pull it up in Wireshark and see what's going on inside of the tunnel, okay? Capture that packet. I know, man, it's way out of date. So as you guys can see here, I mean, it's doing its thing, all right? So you're also seeing our TCP connection there, but if you see the echo request and the echo reply, it's going to the primary. Now, if we go to our port 5, which is right here on our second FortiGate. Let's see what's happening over there. All right. Okay, so it looks like it's still passing traffic directly to it, but it's using the management web page. So, in other words, guys, it's this thing right here that's pushing traffic through that link. So if I hit stop, you guys are going to see essentially nothing happening on this side. All right. And the reason why, once again, is because high availability, everything goes to the primary. Okay. Nothing goes to the secondary. Um, yeah. So, and then also, if you look at the layer 2 address here, all right, you're going to see that it has a physical address. Okay. But look what happens here when we go into our other one. Let me just hit stop. You see how it says Fortinet? Right away it says Fortinet. And that's because it's a virtual MAC address. So, all right, pretty darn cool though, huh guys? So anyways, I'm gonna stop it right there because we successfully linked these two together, okay? And in the next video, let's go ahead and turn on the VDOM partitioning and then see if it's actually working and then test for failover, all right? So, all right. Good times. I'll see you guys then. So, all right. Thanks.